The first thing you need to know is that XO sauce is not a sauce in the usual sense of the word. It's thick, chunky, and usually rather oily. Although some people do actually use it as a sauce of sorts, it's mostly used as an ingredient in Chinese cooking. It was invented in the 1980s and quickly became a sensation among Cantonese restaurant chefs because it can be used to boost the flavor of many previously existing dishes. There's no standard recipe, but it often calls for ingredients that are hard to find outside of China. But it has to have the right flavor in the end to be considered XO sauce. Here's a recipe you can make with available ingredients. As usual, we begin by assembling the ingredients. I've got peanut oil here at the back, sesame oil. You're going to need a little chili oil. You can use the commercial product. I'm using the chili oil that I showed you how to make in a previous recipe, I don't know, like a year ago or so. You can still find it on my site if you want to make your own chili oil. Otherwise, you can just buy it. Soy sauce rather, ground white pepper, 40 grams of sugar, about 90 grams of leeks, 4 or 5 dried Thai chilies. These are very, very hot. This is going to be a sauce with some kick to it. I'm using 4. 5 would be okay. About 50 grams. You really want to use a Chinese sausage. It's completely unavailable here. I'm using a lightly smoked Russian pork sausage. It'll work just fine. I've already tried this before, of course. About 60 grams of shrimp. Again, tradition would be to use dried shrimp and then rehydrate them by steaming them. Same thing for the scallops. I got about 200 grams of scallops here. You use dried scallops, then rehydrate them. They do have a different flavor. I can't get around that. But those ingredients aren't available here, and there's no good way of really reproducing them. But this is going to work. This is going to be a delicious sauce. And about 25 grams of garlic. Finally, come around the other side here. I've got 2 Knorr chicken stock packs like this. Of course, yours won't be labeled in Russian, probably. Again, this is one of those things that a lot of people are going to cringe at and go, "Oh my God, I can't use that kind of stuff." Well, this came from a highly respected Chinese chef. I've made a few substitutions here for ingredients because you can't get the other stuff. These are what he uses. This is what goes in. Now, the first step in this case, since we're not using dried meats, is to puree them like this in the food processor. I've cut up the sausage a little bit ahead to give the food processor a chance at it. Now, we add some of the other ingredients. There's the leek. The bouillon cubes, which I'm just going to break up coarsely here. Same thing for the Thai chilies. Take the stems off of them and just kind of crumble the rest in. Don't put the stems in. This is going to be very hot because these chilies are really hot. And I've got 30 grams, roughly 30 milliliters of sesame oil, about 60 peanut oil. Now we're going to take this for a spin here, then scrape down the sides as needed. You want to make this as homogeneous as possible. In a stock pot on a medium heat that's reached roughly the boiling point of water here, about 100 degrees Celsius. Add some oil to this. Give it a second here to warm up, and then we're going to scrape the contents of this food processor out into it. And actually lowering the heat down from 5 to 4, and you want to move this around quite a lot because you do not want this to stick and burn. You want this to be very evenly cooked. So you're going to need to pay some attention to it and keep it on a fairly low heat. We're going to begin counting the time now. Now while this is going on, you need to mince your garlic and leave that to stand in the air in order to kind of wake up the flavors in the garlic, as I explained in volume 2 of my cookbook. After a couple of minutes of cooking, you'll see that this is kind of soup-like, and that's fine. That liquid has got to evaporate, and we're going to cook it down. It's going to take quite a while. Here's what it looks like after about 10 minutes. It's darkening slightly, not quite as liquidy as it was, but still almost a soup. So we got a lot more cooking ahead of us here. Now we're at 20 minutes. There's little bits that are starting to stick to the bottom that don't want to get picked up too easily. I'm going to add the sugar to this now. This is the 40 grams of sugar. Stir it in. Keep the temperature low. It's on 4 out of 1 to 10. Remember, the heat is not high. You have to proceed slowly with this. Okay, now the oil is starting to separate. It's been about 30 minutes. This is the point we're going to add the garlic. And a couple of teaspoons of soy sauce. And I'm going to lower the heat down from 4 to 3. And continue cooking. Slowly, let it bubble. It's been about 7 minutes now. I'm having to use a wooden spatula here to scrape the bottom. At this point, it's been, let's see, 38 minutes, something like that, since we started. There's the teaspoon of ground white pepper and the teaspoon of chili oil. Now it's on the very last lap here. We're just going to cook it for about 2 more minutes, and then we're going to transfer it to a container. The second volume of my cookbook is now available through Amazon and other booksellers. It covers the YouTube recipes from the last 8 months with more in-depth information. I received requests for the procedures on all recipes, and I've listened to you. Every recipe has step-by-step directions, and of course there are recipes that aren't on YouTube. But this is not just a recipe book. Far from it, as you can see from some of the topics scrolling by here. I'm certain that anyone who watches my channel and any serious cook will find this book a treasury of useful and new information you won't find anywhere else. If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.